All right, all right, all right. Answers by Guess. Sitting next to the man, Guess. What up there, Guess?
What's up? Good morning, everybody.
Hello, hello. Remember, guys, inside scoop from outside the box. Answers by Guess, giving you all of fantasy football's needs and wants for this week one. Guess. Those first two games were absolutely amazing.
Excellent.
The way to start off a season was that way, I feel like.
Yeah, the scoring was right about what I thought it would be. Both teams got to around where I thought. A little disappointed in my Packers. Couldn't finish the job. Got to the red zone a bunch. Only scored one time. You're not going to win games in that matter. And I guess the bittersweet symphony here is Malik Willis.
I know, man. I've been asking for Malik Willis for so long.
I would have liked to at least get a throw off at the end there. That wasn't a good look, but it is what it is.
All right. So remember, guys, always look for those hashtags, answers by Guess, and ABGFF. I think we're just going to kind of flow through the games. We're going to talk about a little bit from maybe some players from each side. Not going to do anything as far as 3P or anything this time around, but we just want to give you our information and make sure we're going. So the first game on my list is the Steelers and the Falcons. A lot of questions. Obviously, it seems like Wilson's out, man. It's going to be Fields. Roman Wilson's out too, which I thought was going to be a sneaky play this week. What are you thinking as far as their offense and what they could do? Atlanta, obviously, Kirk Cousins, everything happening with that team and the new offense and all that stuff. Like, see who you think is going to be, I guess, somebody that's going to be rocking this today.
Yeah, sort of like we talked about in the Wednesday show. I mean, it's week one. There's not really going to be too many surprises here. I don't think too many people were planning on starting Russell Wilson anyways, or Roman Wilson. You're going in with pretty much, even if you had, I don't know, I'm sure somebody did like Chase and Higgins. I don't think that there's really a team that had those two and happened to have Roman Wilson and might be like, oh man, my backup isn't even going to play. So, I mean, this game's going to be interesting. It's fitting I have a Falcons jersey on, but it's actually
Brett Favre.
Many people don't know he actually started with the Falcons. But I think I was telling a buddy of mine at work, I said the Falcons last year were murdered by their quarterback play and their coach. And I think that this is going to be a team to reckon with this year. You all know I love Baker. So I'm going to root a little bit for the Bucs, but I do think that the Falcons are going to win the division. I think that they could easily win 11 or 12 games. Being at home to open the season against Pittsburgh's defense, I think Justin Fields makes this game more than likely a little more high scoring. And I'm actually kind of glad that it's Fields, and I hope he does well. Kelvin Austin, we'll see if he shows up today. But again, it's week one. You're not starting these guys. I'm fine with Pickens. I'm rolling him out myself. We'll see how the backfield split goes with Warren and Harris is what we're looking for. And my number one guy going into draft season was Bijan.
Yep. So
we're going to see, are they going to give him more closer to at least an 80-20, at least a 70-30, because last year was just ridiculous right out the gate. They just used Algier like crazy the first 2 weeks and sparingly used Bijan towards the end. He was starting to get more so the bulk of it, but I'm hoping that he absolutely kills it. I mean, it's London, it's Pitts, I don't think you need to start Mooney this week. So I think the Falcons are going to win this game. I think it will be pretty decent. You're playing your guys. And this is why Rob was like, are we going to go through the games and whatnot? I was like, I don't even know if we really need to.
Yeah.
Because it's week one. I mean, I could talk about, we'll see when we get to a game if I have somebody who I think could surprise. But we sort of tapped into a little bit of that already on Wednesday. So today's going to be mostly your questions. But if you got anything, ask them here. We have some recorded. Let's go on to the next one.
All right, sounds good, man. Arizona at the Buffalo Bills. Some rain, some wind. I think that's going to change how I was actually giving this perspective of the game on Wednesday. I said Kyler Murray's going to go off. I really think they're going to be a show. If it comes a running game for this, I don't know that Arizona is going to be able to perform what I thought they were going to perform. Are you thinking the same thing with the kind of weather? And then from the Buffalo side of things, I think the main question I keep on seeing, is it Shakir? Is it Coleman? Is it Curtis Samuel? Who's getting the ball if you need to start somebody from the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, the wind's going to be the biggest problem.
Yeah.
But luckily, for fantasy purposes, they'll be able to move it because you got Josh Allen and you got Kyler Murray, and they can run the ball. And both teams have pretty good running backs. I'm interested to see how Trey Benson looks going against the Bills. And this Bills defense is a shell of itself. If there was no wind, I think I'd be right on board with you with Kyler slinging it all over. We haven't seen Marvin Harrison Jr. yet, and I don't know if we're going to see full-fledged him in this one because there won't be too many deep shots. But again, it's McBride. Maybe you feel like you have to start Connor. Connor is someone I would a little bit worry about because we don't know how much they're going to use Benson. But the Buffalo rush defense is not good.
Yeah.
Well, at least they weren't last year and even the year before. And since their secondary got worse, DeMar Hamlin is starting. He was never even active last year, and he's a starting cornerback today. So you're going to start your main guys. You're going to have to start Marv. And for Buffalo, your question, I'm saying Keon Coleman because Shakir will be the glue. He'll be the number one option, I think, early on. We saw it at times last year when he started to pop off. I like Shakir. I'm fine with him as a flex today. But again, it's because he'll be there for those short, little slants or whatnot, because the wind could be the issue. And that sort of stinks because I was looking forward to this game like you were.
Yeah, man.
And if the wind can do anything, it kills fantasy.
Sure does. All right. Next one here. Titans at Chicago. All right. It seems like Hopkins is close to being okay. I don't know if we would start Hopkins anyways. Obviously, Ridley. We want to see what the split looks like for Spears and Pollard. You kind of touched on that on Wednesday a little bit as well. From the Bears, I think we were saying all systems go. Yeah. We had a comment that I guess we missed the last time about Keenan Allen being I guess overweight, or what are we seeing with Keenan Allen compared to him being banged up? There's a question mark there too. Are we comfortable starting Keenan Allen in that sense, or what are we looking at as far as who we're playing? Obviously the people you're drafting, but anybody we should be thinking about?
Yeah, like a week or so ago, this game I pretty much drew a circle around. I was like, over.
Yeah.
I think the Tennessee offense, a lot of people are expecting Tennessee that they've seen, I don't know, for the last X amount of years, pound the ball. I think they're going to open things up, spread it out wide. And I think Caleb Williams is just really going to ignite this Bears defense. They got so many offense. They got so many weapons. I mean, it was a time where it was just Cole Kmet, and then DJ Moore started to come on. It was just those two, but now they got Keenan Allen, like we talked about. And whether he is overweight or not, one of his best things is being a possession receiver. So when he needs somebody to get open to get him 3, 4, 5 yards, that's going to be your Keenan Allen. Rome, we'll see how he looks. Odunze, and DJ Moore. And I'm playing Swift. I know a lot of people have Swift on his bench. I'm playing Swift today. If I could fit him into my lineup, I'm not sure exactly. Like James Conner, I would play Swift over James Conner. I feel like James Conner got drafted over him. I know that I just said, the win, they're going to want to pound the ball, and you can run on Buffalo, but I would play Swift over him because I think Caleb Williams is going to check down a ton. I think this game's going to be pretty high scoring. I think both of these offenses are going to put some points up, and this is going to be a good one. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that one.
All right, we'll pull up Mike's question here. Otherwise, he's leaving. He's saying, well, see you later. Okay, how about Ridley or Swift? Actually, that relates to this game, so that's why I wanted to bring it up.
I would go Swift. I really would.
All right, perfect. Let's see who else we got here. What's up there, Leon? How are you?
Yeah, and just to speak on that a little bit more, I've seen too many, I'd like to use a better term, but goose eggs from Ridley at times. I mean, he's either going to give you everything or nothing. I just think they paid Swift to be a workhorse for them, to catch a ton of passes. I know they got Roshan, who's a little banged up, and I know they got Herbert. I talked about it on Wednesday. I think Swift is just going to be a PPR machine. So I'm playing Swift over Ridley.
All right, what's up there, Scott? Hello,
What's up,
hello. All right, let's go on. Then we'll go to some other questions afterwards. All right, New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, the Bengals. Higgins seems like he's doubtful and more than likely out. Chase has an illness, and is he going to play? I know you're not high on Moss. Am I staying away from Bengals players today? And then from New England, am I staying away from New England players today? Or could this be a sneaky, scoring game that you can play a lot of people?
On Wednesday, I talked about the Bengals and how I drafted the Bengals because I saw they were playing the Patriots. Little did I know they'd have no offense. The worst defense is a bad offense. Mike Gesicki. Let's see it, right? Because there's Yoshivaz and all these other guys, Jermaine, who they don't like Burton because his attitude's terrible, but they're going to have to use him. You don't have to. But if for whatever reason you're in some sort of random tight end pickle that I can't see, Mike Gesicki. But if he does well today, like I think he should, even if they had Higgins and Chase, I think he would. He's somebody that's probably sitting out there. He was like tight end, like 28 on lists. He went undrafted all over the place. We've seen Joe Burrow make tight end stars.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And so there's the Chase Brown, the Zach Moss thing. I'm team Chase Brown. I think you'll see a good side of both of them. Gibson, I think, is hurt, right? Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, he's banged up.
I'm
not even sure if he's going to play. Let me double check.
Yeah, he might be out even. It'll be interesting. Let's see what Jalen Polk looks like. Let's see what Javon Baker looks like. Hunter Henry. There's tight ends and running backs if you need to.
Yeah, and it looks like Antonio Gibson is going to try to play, but I would be worried about that, especially if he's banged up coming into this week. Why risk it? It's week one.
It's too early to get tricky. You know that we like to live sexy at Answers by Guess, but let's stick to our guns. There's better options right now.
All right. Next game here, Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Everybody on the Texans, are you starting? This Colts defense wasn't horrible last year. They weren't the greatest, but obviously Anthony Richardson being back, Downs being out. Do we see a lot of Adonai Mitchell today? Yeah. Am I okay with putting him in a DFS lineup and taking a real big risk, probably because he won't cost that much?
Yes. I love Adonai Mitchell.
Is it Adonai?
Adonai.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought it was Adonai.
Yeah. Adonai Mitchell. I love him. He was a 5 guy for your eye back in late June, early July. Absolutely love him. If he's sitting out on waiver wires, you're going to want to probably pick him up. Yes, Pittman's the one. You're going to have Kylan Granson as the only healthy tight end left in Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor's going to do his thing. Anthony Richardson's going to do his thing. But I think Adonai Mitchell is going to surprise and pop up this year. And it could be something like we saw a few years ago. Who was it? Was it Allen Robinson and Mooney? Where sort of Mooney sort of usurped him was the word I used.
Usurped.
So we could see something like that with Pittman where Mr. Mitchell maybe even becomes the actual number one there over Pittman this year. I think he's that good. Talked him up in 5 guys for your eyes before the preseason, the pre-preseason. And as far as the Texans go, I'm going to be interested to see how they use Dameon Pierce because I feel like he looked better. I feel like he's got a chip on his shoulder. I'm not big on Devin Singletary. I'd be fine sitting Singletary today. I can't imagine many people drafted him as their RB2.
Singletary's on the Giants now.
Oh, who am I thinking? Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. Correct.
Joe Mixon. Sorry.
No worries.
Wedding last night.
Good time it sounded like, to be honest with you. But yes, I knew we
see it in my eyes.
Just want to make sure that they're aware. It's Mixon that you're down on.
Mixon. I'm a little down on Mixon. And I believe he was banged up too coming into it a little bit. He hasn't really been practicing. But I want to see how they use Pierce. But yeah, you can play Mixon, sure. But the Texans are somebody who I'm thinking this year might have been overdrafted in fantasy. Because they're everybody's favorite new shiny toy, even though they're not new anymore. CJ Stroud, I'm worried. I don't quite predict it, but I'm worried of a sophomore slump. Maybe not slump, but not what we saw out of him last year. So I'm interested to see, does he pick up where he left off, or does he hit that sort of sophomore wall and teams sort of adjust to what he showed them last year? This week's probably going to be back and forth. You got Diggs, go ahead and play him. I think Nico's probably the number one on this team by far. And Tank Dell, it'd be interesting to see how he plays coming back. I think that people are a little too high on Tank and Stroud because of what we saw out of Tank and Stroud last year. So it makes me a little nervous, but let's see if this game proves me wrong. And again, here's the thing. Before we even go any further, I should have let off with this, but today's a little unorthodox. I'm hungover. You're next to me. This is week 1. 2 days from now, 50, if not 90% of you are going to be freaking out in a negative manner. It's week 1. And you know that when week 1 comes and goes, a lot of things we thought or hoped would happen when we drafted these players doesn't. And we get pissed off. We're like, I got to get him off my team. I got to get rid of him. Like a lot of people are looking to get rid of Mark Andrews. I got to tell you right now, it might be a buying opportunity for Mark Andrews. People want his stink off your team. People are so high on Likely. Dude was in an accident. You know me. I'm down on Mark Andrews overall. Yep. Before that game, I pretty much said I like Likely better than Andrews in that game. But if you are a little soft at tight end, I'd be making an offer to somebody who has Mark Andrews now while the sour is still in their mouth. Overreactions are never stronger than after week 1. So keep that in mind. There's going to be guys on your team that don't do what we thought or you thought they would do today. But if there's somebody that you had your eye on and you didn't get to draft them, they don't do well today, keep that in mind. Somebody out there is going to be pissed off at that player. Now's the time to make an offer for him because it's 17 weeks long, right?
Yeah.
At least 14. You make the playoffs 17 or 18, some of you play. It's a long ways to go. Please don't overreact after today.
It's funny. I was talking to Mike about Andrews, and I was like, there was a lot of plays that he was actually open on where the offensive line wasn't holding long enough, and Lamar had to move away from Andrews. But there were some plays that I was like, man, if they get it to Andrews there, that's a first down. Man, if they get it to Andrews there, he can run up the sideline kind of thing. And you're right. He looked like he wasn't himself.
Yeah. We'll see. But I would imagine, I haven't looked at week 2 matchups yet, but I would imagine next week you see Mark Andrews a little more involved, and he's going to be on benches or traded. And it's going to piss off the same people that were pissed off after Thursday night.
All right, let's go to a couple questions here. Mike, what do you think, Mooney or Lockett? We talked about the Atlanta game before.
God, those are trash options. I'm going to go with Mooney. I really think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to solidify himself as the number 2 for Seattle. Lockett's been banged up. I'm going to go with Mooney. He is the number 2. So I'm going to go with Mooney. And I think he's got a better quarterback.
All right. He also said Lockett not 100%. What's up there, Nate? All right. Let's go on to the next game here. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Miami Dolphins. There's supposed to be chances of thunderstorms here, which we'll see what happens. But
that means they'll delay it.
Like they'll delay the game. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But Jacksonville, I feel like we don't know who the number 1 wide receiver is. Do you feel the same way? And who can emerge as that person? On the flip side, Dolphins, Hill's saying that Waddle's the number 1 receiver. Do you believe that to be true? And then running back situation. I know you're high on Bigsby. I think I want to start him in DFS this week. Am I crazy for thinking that way?
Yeah, well, so just real quick, the Thursday night game, they delayed it. Why? Because they had to do pregame festivities. Mm-hmm. And they didn't want those people getting wet. Like, that's nonsense, first of all. So get that out of the way. Like, we got football to play. We don't care about your parading around your nonsense. But onto this, there probably will be delays if we're having thunderstorms and whatnot. But for the Jags, you asked about their number 1. I said in 5 Guys for Your Eyes, I felt like Gabriel Davis would be their top wide receiver at the end of the year. But Kirk is their number 1. They're going to use him a ton in the slot. I'm interested to see what Brian Thomas Jr. looks like. Mm-hmm. He looks like he could wind up being
the
the
number
stud
one, yeah.
on that team. So we'll see. I tell you who the play is in DFS. It's Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
And you know, the preseason game, right? He caught a bunch of touchdowns, right? Didn't he?
Pretty sure, yeah.
And that kind of stunk because that sort of raised his draft value. Because he was going a little under the radar. He didn't get a ton of end zone looks last year, but he got a ton of targets. I think his touchdowns are going to spike this year. So DFS, Evan Ingram, if you got him, obviously you use him. You probably draft him as your starter. And Tank Bigsby, I think that he's going to be what he was supposed to be last year. And I feel like a lot of people overdrafted ETN. He was going to first round in some places. I'm an ETN fan, but he's a little bit brittle. He hasn't broken yet. They're going to keep him fresh. And if all things have stayed the same, they like what they see out of Tank, and so do I. So we'll see if Tank Bigsby finally emerges and does what he should have done in 2023. For the Dolphins, we won't get to see Malik Washington. He's out. So it's basically going to be Waddle, Hill, and I think you're going to see all three running backs. I think Achane is another one that maybe might have been a little overdrafted. Say what you want, and you know how I feel about Mostert. I don't think he's going to be able to fall into the end zone quite like he did as many times last year, but he's going to be in the mix. And he went like in rounds like 6 or 7, and you had Achane going in rounds 1 and 2. And Jalen Wright went undrafted. And to be honest, Jalen Wright is probably a better running back than Achane. More all around, a little bit bigger bodied. So, like, I could see a world where Jalen Wright becomes the one and Achane maybe mixes in and Mostert sort of plays third fiddle. Not this week, but eventually. I could see that. So they're the risky starts. DFS, I wouldn't touch Achane or Mostert because I want to see how they bust it out in this one. And especially if it's thunderstorms, it's going to be wet ground. Sometimes that's good for the running backs. Sometimes it's not. I wouldn't chance it. I'd rather go with Bigsby because if they're going to give him the ball, it's going to be where?
Right, so
1 yard line in between the fives. The rain stinks, but not a lot of wind. That's good.
All right, next one here. Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. We were saying when Kamara is healthy, you play Kamara, obviously. But as far as the other players on this team, who are we looking at? Obviously, Olave, but who's that third, fourth? Are you playing any of those potential guys? From the Carolina Panthers, could this offense actually get a boost this year? Thielen was unbelievable at the beginning of last year, and then we saw them die out. I feel like Bryce Young could be really good this year. Who's he throwing to, though, to make him playable?
Well, Taysom Hill for the Saints.
Okay.
All right. This week of all weeks, because what's his face? My boy.
Juwan Johnson. Yes. I don't think. Yeah, he may not be playing.
Yeah. So Taysom Hill this week.
Let me see.
And he's got tight end eligibility on Yahoo. Another league.
He's healthy. Juwan.
Yeah. So still, one other format that I'm in, he's only QB eligible. That's somewhere where obviously you're not touching him. But let's see what A.T. Perry does.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, it's Olave. You didn't mention, but that's going to be it. Carolina's a team, much like Tennessee, but maybe even more so, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people this year. I feel like their over-under is like 5.5 wins. I think they're going to get at least 8. I think I see a big jump from Bryce Young coming. Jatavian Sanders is who he's going to be looked to throw to. He's the only healthy tight end. He's basically a wide receiver in a tight end's body. If that's a name you don't know and you're a little short in tight end, or maybe you're a Mark Andrews owner who doesn't have a tight end and you're freaking out about him, you pick up Jatavian Sanders now and you put him on your bench and you wait and see. Because he's going to be the only tight end for Bryce Young today, and he's a freak. Let's see what the Mingo and the who's the other rookie? I can't think of his name.
Leggett.
Yep, Leggett, Xavier. That's what I was trying to think of. Yep, Xavier Leggett. We'll see what they look. They got rid of my boy Terrace Marshall. I'm interested to see if he plays Monday night.
Ooh,
I'm interested to
Yeah.
see. They might. They might.
they might.
I mean, there's no Pearsall,
Yeah. And
right?
Juwan Johnson. I mean, was
Juwan
it
Jennings been banged up.
Yeah.
So we
It
might
could be a
see Terrace
possibility.
Marshall Monday. We'll get to that game in a little bit. But I think Bryce Young's going to be a lot better. I think that eventually he's going to be on some fantasy teams. I think he's like 0% owned.
Yeah. I was actually,
Rightly so.
Mike and I, we played together in ABG, and we're like, we saw Love go down, and we only have Mahomes. It's like, do we pick up Bryce Young now as a backup,
Probably.
just in case, God forbid something happens to Mahomes, or he's, seeing Love go down, having one quarterback is not a fun thing.
No.
All right. Next game here. Minnesota Vikings at the New York Giants. I don't know why, and I feel like this is going to be probably the highest scoring game of the week, or it's going to be 6-3. That's like your only two options here. But, I mean, obviously you're starting Justin Jefferson. I think I'm more concerned about, is Aaron Jones going to get the full workload, or are we going to see Ty Chandler a lot? On the flip side, is Devin Singletary going to get the full workload, or is Tracy going to get some love? It's like this game I'm almost staying away from because I kind of not sure who I want to play in this.
Yeah, it's Neighbors is probably all you're going to put in. Daniel Jones, I mean, we forget because it looked so bad last year at times. 2 years ago, he was like a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
Vanilla Vic.
Running quarterback at that, man, especially in today's league.
Sam Darnold on the other side, like this is very gross.
You leave him alone.
I believe Jalen Naylor is going to play. I've been trying to talk him up since last season, speedster. And we don't have to talk about Addison or Jefferson. I'm not going to worry about their tight end. Is it Munt? Yeah. But I think Ty Chandler is going to split with Aaron Jones. I really think so. Green Bay split Jones's work, and frustratingly at times, because I felt like just give Jones the rock. And once they finally did that towards the end of the year, and he was healthy, he killed it. But he's another year older. Minnesota's got some stuff invested in him. Ty Chandler looked really good at the end of the year last year. I really think that the way this team projects to go, I don't think that they gain too much out of killing Aaron Jones this season. So I think that Ty Chandler is going to eat it quite a bit. I'm actually starting him in a dynasty league where I don't have the best options at running back, but I'm going to start him because I think against the Giants, and I think just in case Sam Darnold sees ghosts, they're going to rely on running backs. Ty Chandler, he looked great last year, and we liked him before he looked great. We were talking him up. So I think for the Giants, Theo Johnson's your boy. Let's see if he does anything. There's so many tight ends out there. He's
the tight end one, though. They listed him on the draft on the depth chart as tight end one. So
there's so many tight ends out there. There really is. And I think I mentioned last year, I said tight end's going to be deeper than it ever was. It looks like it is that way. We'll see if that continues. But if it's not Neighbors, I'm not really – I mean, I think
I'm going to play Singletary just because I have Singletary.
And I do think Tracy plays and cuts into his workload, but the Minnesota defense is not good. So if it's not Neighbors and Jefferson, I'd probably be okay staying away from this because you probably have better options, and everybody else seems to be sharing as far as some running backs.
Going to go with another loco prediction. By the way, good call on Worthy having 2 touchdowns. He says that Sam Darnold will throw 3 to 4 touchdowns today.
Wow.
So,
local
prediction.
Okay.
All right. Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Here for a show.
I told him that he has to be a guest on the show. Yeah, I agree. All right. Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. You were talking about Devontae Adams, and you actually had me thinking a lot about him from the Wednesday show. I got him at the end of the second round. And I think he's going to eat, dude, with Minshew. A lot of people are still low on White, and Loeb keeps on coming up everywhere that he's going to take the starting gig and so on and so forth. Obviously, you're not playing Loeb, but am I okay with playing Zamir White today? On the flip side, Palmer, we want to see what McConkey can do. Am I staying away from that running back situation, though?
You might be okay putting Gus the Bus in.
Okay.
Because if they get close, I mean, Herbert's playing.
Yeah.
So we don't have to see Easton stick. So that's a good thing. I would be okay. And they say Dobbins looks good, but I feel like I would rather play Gus. Because if they're getting to the 5-yard line, Gus is getting the ball, right?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
I
but Dobbins is also that big, and he can push it in too. So it's like, what Baltimore running back's going to get?
Yeah, and before long, I'm telling you, Vidal he was a 5 guy for your eye. He's going to end up being in the mix, if not today. So it's Adams. We'll see if Trey Tucker does anything.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see about your boy Brock tight end.
That was somebody, you were thinking, where you asked the question on Wednesday, who was the one player that you wanted to draft? Brock Bowers.
You didn't get him?
And I didn't get him.
I remember you wanted him in Dynasty way back in June.
0 leagues I got him, and I wanted every part of him.
Yeah. This one will be an interesting game. I want to see how the Chargers look with basically all of their wide receivers gone. I mean, they still got Palmer. I love Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston. You got to show me something.
Yeah.
But
he might be a cheap DFS, to be honest. If you want to take a real flyer and you have to start a captain or something like that, I wouldn't be opposed to starting Johnson. I mean, he's listed as the number 2 over there.
Yeah. You know what I was just thinking? Mike Williams hasn't been good, really. He's been hurt always. They lost Keenan Allen. That's really it.
Yeah. I mean, when Mike Williams did play, he looked amazing. He was always amazing.
But it seems like they lost all their receivers. I just said that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. They really only lost Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
And they added Ladd McConkey. So it might not be as bad as we think.
I mean, Mike Williams definitely from that perspective, he's always been hurt. So you're right. We'll see what happens. But that target share we've seen go to Palmer in the past when those guys are out. So I don't know. Maybe we just stay away from
Palmer in the league
DFS
today.
Too.
I've gone back and forth between Palmer and Keon Coleman. The wind in Buffalo
is what's concerning.
I'm going with Palmer.
That makes sense. All right. Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks. Bo Nix getting a lot of hype out there, saying potential rookie of the year, going to beat out Jaden Daniels, going to beat out Caleb Williams. I don't know. I don't see it. Maybe I'm a Zach Wilson fan, and I want to see him play because I still think he can be a great quarterback. You were talking about the running back situation. Bring that back up again for Denver. On Seattle side, you mentioned Lockett banged up. We're both high on JSN this year. That's another player that I wanted that I didn't get any part of. I'm more concerned about the running back situation, though, in Seattle. Charbonnet looked great last year. Walker came back good last year. Are they going to be splitting 50-50?
I think so. I think Javante's your lead in Denver, but we talked about on the Wednesday show how Sean Payton loves his little spicy, speedy guys out there. We went as far back as Darren Sproles with Jaleel McLaughlin, and I think we're going to see that. I like both today. I'm starting Javante with really no hesitation. I do like Seattle's defense. I talked about that on Wednesday. This week and next week, they're great spot starts. If you drafted someone like Baltimore and you had to go last week against Kansas City and then into next week, Seattle was good for that. But I'm playing Javante with no hesitation. Cortland Sutton, there's no Judy in town, so Mr. Mims, he was a 5 guy for your eye. So we'll see how they use him. I think that. I think that Bo Nix is going to be good for Mr. Mims. So I'm fine with all 4 of those Broncos that I just named, and I'd be fine with the 4 Seahawks that you pretty much were talking about as well. Well, DK, JSN, Charbonnet, and Walker. I'm good with all 4 on both sides today. I think there'll be some defensive plays in this one because Geno was going to turn it over.
Yep.
And Bo's going to turn it over. And I think there's going to be some good offensive plays. So this one is actually probably a low-key fun game, I think.
All right, guys. You always remember to like, comment, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. Let's go on to the next one here. Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns. a lot of running back questions. We hit on it on Wednesday. Is Dowdle still the guy that's going to be the one that's going to get the most touches? Are we okay with playing Zeke and or Cook? From the flip side, Cleveland Browns, the defense obviously I think is the number one defense. Going against this Cowboys team, I still think I'm playing the Cleveland Browns defense. Am I okay with that? And then what offense are we seeing for the wide receivers? Who's that number two? Is it Judy? Is it going to be somebody else that we're really not thinking about that kind of came on last year? What are you thinking?
Yeah, for Dallas, I think we have to just expect that it's going to be Dowdle because he's listed at. But we talked about on Wednesday, I really like Deuce Vaughn going into this year.
Yep.
Jalen Tolbert, I've been talking him up for over a year, and he was a 5 guy for your eye. He's going to explode onto the scene, but it's going to be a tough environment playing in Cleveland against arguably the best defense in football. Their 3 cornerbacks are absolutely disgusting. Dak's going to have it cut out for him, so he may need to use Ferguson a bit more today. That's why I do think you're going to see some Deuce Vaughn because they're going to have to check down, and Tolbert's more of an outside sort of deep guy, so if Cooks plays, maybe they use him a little more over the middle. CD likes to go over the middle. I think Cleveland's going to win this game. Being at home, the defense they're in, Dallas's offense, Dak was not really playing, holding out for a little while. We know the CD situation that was going on.
Yep.
Cleveland's going to win if Deshaun Watson can throw the ball more than 5 yards accurately.
Yep.
Because we haven't seen that in 2 years. He's looked putrid when he came back from the suspension. He looked bad last year. We're going to have to see, but it's Cooper. Judy, we'll see how he looks for them. Njoku, I think is going to have to be his best friend.
That's who I think is going to be the best player in this
Jerome
game, to be honest.
Ford is one of my favorite plays of the week. Absolutely love him this week. I feel like they're going to use him early and often. I think you can run on Dallas. They've lost some players on the defensive line. It's not the Dallas defensive line that we're used to. They're good on the outside, but not up the middle, and that's where Jerome Ford likes to run. So we'll see.
All right, last 4 o'clock game here. Washington Commanders at Tampa Bay Bucks. I got Mike Evans in a lot of leagues, and obviously you're playing Mike Evans. I got Godwin, I think, in one league too. I'm playing Godwin. Am I okay with playing like a Cade Otton if you need a tight end? Baker seemed to like him at the end of last year. Are you okay with playing a Baker if you need a quarterback today? On the flip side, Jaden Daniels, this defense for Tampa Bay is pretty good, but can he be the Vic that they're saying he's going to be as far as being able to move the ball, run with the ball, and how does that help his guys?
I heard a lot of yeses. Yes.
As I was checking, you were checking them off?
Yes, I'd be okay playing Baker. Yes, Mike Evans will be fine. Yes, I love Chris Godwin today. Yes, I'd be all right using Cade Otton. Yes, I do feel like Rachaad White was a little overdrafted, and his volume last year is going to be a problem because Bucky Irving's in town. And if you don't know about Bucky Irving, well, I gave him to you on the 5 guys for your eyes. And he's going to take some thunder away. He's a 3-down dude. And I think Rachaad White, honestly, yeah, he got a ton last year. He was all they really had, and he did well with it. But he's not built for that. Mm-hmm. He's built for more of a 3rd down type of role. So it's going to be interesting. That's what I'm watching on this. And yes, Jaden Daniels is going to be amazing. Yes, I talked about him early on in the preseason ones.
5 guys for your eyes.
Yes, Terry McLaurin's going to be your number 1 wide receiver for the week, but I can't fit him into my lineup, but I think he is going to be the top wide receiver for the week.
Wow.
Of guys that are playing today or Monday, because already we've had Jaden Reed, ridiculousness.
AJ Brown with a big catch too, man.
So today, let's say, Terry McLaurin's going to kill it. McCaffrey's their number 2, right?
I think he's going to eat, man.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm actually, he's in one of my DFS lineups this today.
Okay. And people were asking a question about Sanat.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see too much of him until Ertz goes down or until
we see.
Yeah, or until he's wheeling his chair across the 50. Sit down, old man. But so the running backs, Eckler, we kind of said he was washed last year. He appeared to be so. We'll see if he gets rejuvenated. I would not put him in my lineup today. He'd be a sit.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to touch him in the draft.
Yeah, I stayed away from
You
him.
wouldn't-
I did draft Brian Robinson Jr.
Yes,
somewhere,
him
though.
I'm
I
fine
think
with.
I'm okay with that. I
Fine
think
with
he's
him.
still going to be good. All right, go on to the next Sunday Night Football. I think this is going to be the game of the week. Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Stafford going back. Goff playing against his former team. We saw this being an exciting game last year. A healthy Rams team. Do you start everyone? Pretty much. On the flip side, a healthy Detroit Lions team. Do you start everyone? My big person, I think, for this week is Jameson Williams. I think we're going to see him in a Debo
Yeah.
role, and I can see him being one of the
I
top
hope so.
wide receivers.
I've read and heard a lot of talk about Colby Parkinson for the Rams. Like, I don't want anything to do with that. Tight end, I've just rattled off a ton of guys today and throughout the shows that we've done already. There's enough guys out there that really I don't want anything to do with a Colby Parkinson for the Rams. So do I start all my Rams? I'm not going to start him.
Okay.
But he might do fine. I'll probably look like an idiot. But that's okay. But I'm interested to see Corum and Kyron. How does this break out? Because this is very similar to Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. I feel like it's the same sort of thing. Yes, they love Kyron. Yes, I love Kyron. Last preseason, he was a preseason 5 guy for your eye. I said, don't go near Cam Akers. Don't forget about Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams blows up. And now this year, I said, don't go too crazy with Kyron Williams because Blake Corum is going to take some of that thunder. So we'll see if that streak continues with me and the Rams. Puka, I worry about a sophomore wall, much the same as Stroud. He's everybody's favorite shiny new toy because they haven't seen this year's new toys yet. And a lot of times players are amazing their first year, and then the second year they hit a little bit of a wall. Puka looks godly, for lack of a better term, off the top of my head. You know, he looks like that dude with that staying power. But Kupp is healthy now. Kupp is Stafford's boy. And then they have Whittington, who's a rookie who looked really good in the preseason, and Demarcus Robinson. So they got a bunch of guys, and Colby Parkinson, I talked about. People are talking him up and picking him up. So they got a lot of options. It was Puka last year because he was the only one, really.
That was healthy.
Him and Kyron. They got all hands on deck, like you mentioned, a healthy Rams squad. So obviously you're starting Puka, but he's somebody who could have a down game and people freak out
and sell.
So keep your eye on that because Cooper Kupp is getting old. So it's very likely that maybe he gets hurt again. We'll see. And for the Lions, I mean, Amon-Ra, Gibbs.
I'm in a pickle between Montgomery and Miko Collins. I know that sounds like a stupid pickle, but I just think that with what's happening in Houston, I'm not 100% sure
I think I'd play Montgomery.
And I kind of feel like Montgomery's going to get the goal line. He could be the red zone. Jameer Gibbs is going to be the guy outside of the red zone to be able to get him down the field.
I think I'd go Montgomery.
And then Kupp is another person that's on my list of people that I wish I had some type of draft and I didn't get any of them because I feel like this is going to be a revamped league.
So I couldn't use him for that for me. But yeah.
All right, last but not least, my New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers. Guys, pay attention to McCaffrey. He's listed as questionable. He practiced all week. You have to have an option just in case if something happens during warm-up and something gets pulled and it's a Monday night game. So you have to have a backup just in case. But on the flip side, I mean, you're starting everybody, I think, from both teams. Whoever you pretty much drafted. I would even go Mike Williams if you needed somebody, if you had to, that one of your guys is out. But again, you're kind of starting who you drafted to a certain degree. But what are you thinking for the Jets?
Yeah, you're screwed right now with McCaffrey because if you don't have, I mean, obviously you put him in your flex if you have a flex, but if you don't have a flex, you probably have to keep him in running back. And let's just say he gets called out tomorrow night. You're screwed because somebody already owns Jordan Mason, I'm sure. Should be you.
Yeah. Braylon Allen would be the probably only option that you would have.
But even that, it's like, you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very tough. But if you put him in the flex, then Mike Williams might be out there.
Correct.
Maybe they do play Terrace Marshall.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see Aaron Rodgers play 4 plays. or more
You leave
for the
him alone.
Jets.
They actually asked him that in an interview. It's like, how are you going to feel after you get through the first 4 plays? He's like, what the hell? He's like, I'm not thinking about that.
I'm interested. He can't beat the Niners. It's been his curse his whole career.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm okay with the Jets losing. They just have to keep it close. I want to see Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a huge game. He's my wide receiver 1 this week. I think he's going to actually be on the top of the list. So,
all right.
all right, guys.
That's
the games. Let's go through some questions here.
We got a lot of comments on there too.
Yeah.
We were not ignoring you. We want to
Not
get through
ignoring,
this because we're hanging out here.
I think this is the one. There it is. All right, Darren, another question. How you feeling? Jaden Waddle this year, full PPR. Have Bijan, Kamara, Warren. You're trading James Cook for Waddle. All right, so here we go. How you feeling, Jalen Waddle this year, full PPR? Have Bijan, Kamara, and Warren. And then you're trading James Cook for Waddle.
I would trade James Cook for Waddle, yes.
I would do that. Question 2, would you trade Keenan Allen for Swift?
Yes, especially if I did the one above. I would rather have Swift over Cook. I'd rather have Waddle over Allen.
I like it.
You made your team better in both positions.
All right. Ooh, this one's a tough one.
All
right. So many opponents. So my opponent had 31 points with Lamar. Do I stick with Stafford, play Daniels, or pick up Fields and play him with Wilson? Can't play for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you stick with Stafford.
I
and
agree.
I remember looking at this, Scott. I think I responded maybe
saying
everything
keep
looks
everything
good.
the same. Yeah, you did. All right. We got one from Braden. What are your thoughts on Xavier Worthy's performance? How much do you think he'll be involved in the year of this offense?
I'm glad you asked that. He had 3 touches, and 2 of them went for touchdowns. Who comes to mind? Christian Watson. Christian Watson scored a touchdown.
He should have had 2.
Should have had 2. I think it was a tad fluky. I think that next week, if you're going into that as a Xavier Worthy owner and it doesn't come anywhere close, you're going to be sadly disappointed. I think another week under him, Kelsey's going to look a little better. I think Baltimore was doing a good job of not letting Kelsey beat them. Listen, the one touchdown where Xavier Worthy got the jet sweep or whatever, the blocking was impeccable.
Oh, yeah.
Noah Gray and Travis Kelsey set 2 of the best tandem tight end blocks I've ever seen. Rob, you or I could have ran through that and scored that touchdown. So while it looks amazing, it felt amazing, and kudos to you, Mike, for saying he'd have 2 touchdowns. He did. You were right. But everybody looks fast when they're running in an open field with nobody. Yes, he's fast, but it was a tad bit fluky. Much like Christian Watson was a couple years ago. I think it was 2022. His other touchdown was the catch, right?
Was the catch that he went behind Humphreys.
Yep.
So Humphreys had to make a choice between, do I guard Pacheco or do I guard him?
So he's not on the field a ton. Will that role grow? Of course. Listen, Mecole Hardman is nothing. He's like their returner. Juju is terrible. He needs to just retire.
Rashee Rice looked great.
Rashee Rice looked great. He's their number 1. He's their number 1. Anybody who just looks at fantasy points and just looks at it is like, oh my God, Xavier Worthy's the best wide receiver on the team. No, he's not. Rashee Rice is their number 1. Will his role grow? Yes, it will. I would not overreact to it because the usage was still small. Even him on the field, as little as he was, it will grow. He's a rookie. He had 3 touches. 2 of them went for touchdowns. One of them, Rob and I could have ran through the hole, holding hands backwards. Not taking anything away from him. Spectacular athlete. But my thoughts on him is I would not overreact to it until we see him on the field more. And they're going to have some matchups. They're going to go against the Raiders, right? And in that, they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want with Travis Kelsey. So you're going to have games where he completely disappears. If somebody else has him, Braden, I don't know if you do or somebody else does, and you're thinking about going after him, I wouldn't. If I owned him and I had some holes that I think I could fill, I would sell him high. He could have a bigger game than this. but I think his value probably is right around his peak.
You got to remember Hollywood Brown has to play into this too.
And that too.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I think that plays a big factor into
And
what
that
is
too.
Hollywood Brown. How much is he going to be on the field? Obviously, he'll take over whatever Juju Smith-Schuster was there, but I think we saw more Worthy this week because Brown wasn't there.
Yeah.
Also, I want to give Gray might end up being the tight end one.
Well, I said that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
over there.
Yeah, he's
For that,
very
because
good.
I mean, Kelsey.
Very
Don't get me
good.
wrong; he's obviously going to get it, but he looked good. I think
Right.
Gray
He's
actually
been
looked better
looking
than
good.
Kelsey.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's spry. He's young.
all right, let's get to these comments here.
There were a couple other questions, and
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
But did we add them?
I'm sorry. Did I not finish this thing? Hold on. I'm all over the place, guys.
there you go.
Oh, merch,
Oh,
guys!
it's
Merch
merch.
is always available. 25 for t-shirts, 45 for hoodies. I'm pretty sure we have a couple different sizes available. We appreciate every single one of you guys.
Well, there was a couple that were on the show or on the Facebook group. And
Okay.
we didn't add them, and I don't know if they're watching. Landon with the first question, right?
Yep.
He said, with the uncertainty with the Bengals wide receivers playing tomorrow, would you still, this must have been yesterday, would you still start Burrow or play Mayfield? I'd play Mayfield, Landon. So hopefully you're watching. I would play Mayfield. And Jeremy asked pick 2. Puka, McLaurin, Davis. I don't know if that's Gabe or Ray.
I would assume Gabe.
Probably Kirk, Lockett. I could put one in the flex, but I want to start Achane. And they had another thing that I didn't take, but I'm going to pick 2 from this list. You know what? I'm just going to stick with Puka just in case. I'm going to go McLaurin, and I'm actually going to put Kirk in the flex over Achane. Jeremy.
Right.
So if you're watching, and this other thing was DeMarcus Robinson over Addison. No, I think I play Addison because I'm worried about Whittington eating into DeMarcus Robinson. You all know I love D-Rob, loved him for years. Back when I've loved him since Florida, but back when he was on KC, I don't know what it says underneath that.
You might take a look.
Yeah, because I'm going to look, and there was another one too. Tiffany asked a question as well. All right, so everybody's asking questions on the page. Tiffany, I thought maybe you'd be watching. Tiffany, by the way, thank you for becoming a Patreon subscriber.
He put DeMarcus Robinson over Addison. For some reason, I'm feeling it.
Go with your gut. I would
Always go
play
with your gut,
Addison.
bud.
Tiffany asked a question. Incoming week 1 overreaction day. Are you watching or are you just inside my head? Remember to keep an eye on the waivers after this week. Yes, where your league mates could drop a skilled player because what?
You could tell that she's been here for a while.
That's somebody who watches the shows and listens. That's all you got to do.
All right.
I mean,
I got one from Leah too. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that one or
go
not.
ahead.
That's a Doomsday or Ford in Flex in PPR League.
I'm going with Ford.
All right. And there was another one that I had seen.
Leah, hopefully you saw this.
Oh, no, that's good.
I'll answer on the page for you as well. I just want to make sure I get it all. Let's do the live ones, and then we can crack a bottle.
That's what we're going to do. Nate with the question, Ford or Javonta in the Flex? Half PPR. You were high on both of them.
God. I'm going to go with Ford. I like Javonte, but I do, his Jaleel is going to steal more than I think Pierre Strong is going to steal from Ford. So I'm going to go with Ford.
Yeah, I'm going Ford as well. Chrissy wants to know, Mooney or Lockett. You already had said
Yep.
Mooney. I guess he answered from that one. Don't talk about my wife's team.
What happened?
I don't know. I think you were saying that, it was horrible between those two choices, Mooney and Lockett. Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. Mike was here. He was saying, I guess, when we were telling him that he needs to be added onto the show to be able to give his loco predictions. McConkey is going to be Puka. I can see that. I can see that.
It was my favorite. Remember, we were sitting here. This was before the dynasty draft. We were talking about rookie wide receivers. You were talking about, I don't know which one, Harrison. You might have been talking about Neighbors.
Yeah.
I was like, I really like McConkey.
Yeah.
Be interested to see. Yeah, he's been my favorite. And he's somebody who I wished I had gotten in Dynasty. I didn't get him.
Yeah, I think I stole him from you too.
Yeah,
and
I shouldn't have
fantasized
told
me.
you.
Yeah, sorry.
This is the problem with doing this.
I am a strange dude. Thank you.
What is that? Who's
I'm not.
strange?
Yeah, I don't know who he was talking about there. But with Daniels as QB1 is better QB2 the entire season, Stafford or Fields 6-point passing touchdowns?
It's Stafford because Fields kills it today. It's going to be hard for Russ to get the job back.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's any sort of a hiccup, I feel like they want Russ to start. It's tough to say. Stafford's getting old. I thought that maybe he would have retired a year ago and just sort of live with the wife and kids. The dogs are barking. I'm going to go with Stafford. I feel like Fields has way higher upside. But I think Stafford and the weapons he has, it's like
I think
stability.
I think the Rams are going to be a better team.
Yeah.
Than what we're going to see as far as keeping Fields. It could be a controversy. If Fields doesn't have a good day, think about what next week looks like
Right.
if Russell Wilson is healthy.
Yep.
I'm staying away from that mess.
Yep.
All right. Hey, what's up there, Fantasy Football Wizard of Odds?
Hey.
Welcome back, bud. Superflex, Knicks or Jones?
I'm going to go with Jones. I'm going to go with Danny Dimes at home.
Because of the running, I feel like Danny Dimes is going to be my answer as well. Bo Nix is going to be interesting, though, man.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see what he looks like. Scott,
I'm going to go with the devil I know.
You are welcome. All right, Jay Hang with the
I still
question.
don't know who's strange, Scott. Who's a strange dude?
Got offered Amon-Ra and Rice for Brees and Diggs. Do you take it? Running backs are Brees, Achane, and Montgomery. Wide receivers are Puka, DK, and Diggs. 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex PPR.
No.
Yeah, I'm not giving up Brees, man.
Just because you're giving up too much with Brees.
Those 2 guys for Brees and maybe
I would trade Diggs for Rice.
Yeah, maybe Diggs for Rice. Yeah, I know. I'm keeping Brees, man.
Yeah.
100%. Make sure to subscribe though, bud. If this is your first time here.
Yeah. Maybe this dude or girl, whoever, if they want to give you Rice for Diggs, I would do that immediately.
All right. I think that's all the questions we have on here, guys. If you have anything else, post it now. Otherwise, we are going to be available probably until about 12 o'clock, I would say, maybe a little before then.
Yeah, you got about an hour. We'll do as best we can to check, notifications and whatnot if we get them, because Facebook is terrible.
Yeah.
But as Rob just said, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like the video. If you're watching on Facebook, join the group, like the video. And once again, Tiffany, if you're watching, thank you once again for subscribing to our Patreon. We have a few Patreon patrons.
That is the right way to say it.
And we appreciate you.
Awesome. And you know what, Jay Hang, you just actually subscribed. Awesome, bud. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Shows on Tuesdays, 5 Guys for Your Eyes from this guy, and then we're usually back Saturdays or Sundays with a live show to be able to answer questions and go through games. Sometimes we do spot DFS picks as well. All depends on timing of the week.
Yep.
I'm going to tell them to like the hashtags, Answers by Guess and ABGFF. Will be available hopefully for about another hour, but I'm going to start day drinking. I'm going to be honest with you.
Me too.
Sweet. Guys, Answers by Guess.
See ya.
Later.